Salud.
Salud.
Wow. Nomás está con madre esa madre. Esto es Otra, por favor. This is one more, please. Hi, and welcome to Otra, por favor.
Otra, por favor.
Another episode here. Coca couldn't make it. He had an emergency, but however, we still gotta keep the show going. And as you guys know, we want to highlight the stories of our Latino community. Talk about football, vida and cultura. Today's guest, he's actually our first, I would say, guest from the food industry. And I know the food industry, it's arduous work that takes time, and a lot of it is the stuff that they have to sacrifice time and energy. But however, I do appreciate you for being here. Margarito, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Super nervous, but super excited. Thank you folks for having me.
Hey man, appreciate you coming. I know we met, I would say, this year, right?
Yeah, just earlier this year.
Yeah, we met at the stadium. I met a lot of people, and then we also started playing soccer on with Los Verdes on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
But I would say, man, you're one of the a very good soccer player. You have that touch. You have that the way you move around, the way you make everyone around you play better. And that's always, for me, it can be talent, but whenever you play with someone that's as talented, and knows how to bring everyone together, you're very good at that. And that also shows how you are as a person outside of the field. We hung out several times at Hop Squad after the games, and you have this what is it called? Aureola. This en español es un ángel que te cargas.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be around you. Everybody's like Mago, Mago, Mago. And the reason why I wanted to invite you is because I was like, I met you and I didn't know you own Paprika, and we started talking. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about you. We're gonna talk about your life. We're gonna talk about your business. But before that, how is everything for you at the moment?
Good. I think like everyone else, there's some turmoil right now. We're having some trouble with our permitting for Paprika, but really just that determination that I try to tackle everything with. Both my wife and I are just kind of rolling with the punches and doing what we can do. It's also been being closed. It's been a good time to catch up on some of the things that we've wanted to do just to feel human and be able to like you said, build other folks up. So it's been nice to catch up with friends and family and be able to hear and see a little bit more of what other folks are doing and being more involved with football even and the community and with Los Verdes. So yeah, super grateful, even though it wasn't planned to have this time right now. We're down for service, but able to still exist.
Do you feel like whenever you go through situations, it's a transition, I would say, you have time to actually do things that you wanted to do?
Yeah, no, definitely. And still not enough time. You start going down the list and you're like, okay, I got 2 things done, and now there's 10 other ones that have come up. But it's I think you got to take it when it comes. Sometimes you have the time and sometimes you don't. So just take advantage of it.
What are the things that you feel you have been able to do now that you probably didn't get a chance to do while the business was open?
A simple one, like you said, is running into folks like you at Hop Squad. Mm-hmm. Normally, We close at 8:00, so we're working right up until we sell out, and then we're just wiping the sweat off and running over to the stadium so we can start screaming. But these last few matches, we've actually been able to go to Hop Squad, grab a beer, and hang out with folks, and like I said, get to connect a little bit more with the community. So
beer or beers.
Exactly. Una más y nos vamos.
I know we always say that, and also one thing that like I want to mention is you actually got me into Carnitas El Güero.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite taco place in Austin at the moment.
No, they're super good. That's why, I mean, thank you for saying what you started with, because that really is my main goal, I think, in life, is to build other people up. I think oftentimes folks look at us having a taqueria and they're like, oh, you must not eat tacos anywhere else. And I'm like, oh, no, you're mistaken. I much rather prefer to eat other people's tacos. Like, the reason I got into this was so that I could eat, and it was just the quickest way to get the tacos into my mouth. But it's Carnitas El Güero is definitely one of those spots that I love to tell folks about, and if they've never been there, I love going there with them and seeing their faces when they start ripping into a pound of carnitas.
Except for the menudo.
Yeah, no, don't order the menudo at a place called Carnitas.
I learned my lesson. Dude, it's cool because I've been wanting to, like, say in Austin, everybody, when they think of carnitas, they think of pulled pork.
Yep.
And over here, as soon as I walked in, just the smell of, like, oh, they use manteca, and they have a big ass caso in the back. Yeah. And sure enough, you go back to in the restroom, and you can see the kitchen, and there's a big ass caso.
Oh yeah.
And man, that when you cook all the carnitas at the same time, that's where it's at. And then you pick up, what do you want to eat? Like maciza, which is just meat only, surtida or cueritos.
Yeah, no, you gotta get a surtida with the cueritos, with all the nasty bits, if you will. Like, that's all the good stuff.
Se llama el guacala, qué rico.
Easy.
Yeah, that's good, man. But no, let's so you mentioned you like to build people up. For you, like, say from your upbringings, how can you say who you are now impacted the person who you were in the past, or what was going through your mind as you grew up, or can you first actually, you know what, let's go first to where are you originally from, and when did you come to the U.S.?
Yeah. So I was born in Matamoros, Tamaulipas. I'm not actually from there. We're from a small town by the name of Vallehermoso, la ciudad de las tres mentiras, because it's not a ciudad, it's not a valle, and it's not hermoso. But that's where we're from, and Matamoros was the nearest hospital. I lived there until the age of 5, and then my folks, like a lot of other folks, immigrated to the U.S. In search of kind of a better shot at life. But they ended up going as far north as they could without hitting Canada. So I grew up in the Midwest, of all places, in Indiana.
Indiana, that's like the Midwest.
Oh yeah, there's few places I can think of that are more polite and have more corn, but it's not a place I'm ever too excited to return to.
Yeah.
All my family still lives up there, so I try to get up there once a year, and really that's the best part about going up there, is just seeing my roots and seeing my family. But I'm always itching for them to get out of there.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up in Texas. I was running away, going back to Mexico. So.
Okay. What like, say, whenever you guys came to the U.S., did you guys come across the border, or how was that journey?
Yeah, so we was very fortunate. We crossed the border legally with a visa, so that gave me a leg up. We overstayed. My parents overstayed the visa, and so I grew up. And up until last year, really, when I got married, I was undocumented the entire time in this country, and I think that's probably been the biggest challenge throughout my life, is how to navigate opening a business, going to, ultimately not going to school, but the jobs I've worked, the relationships I've built have always kind of revolved around just that, what we all struggle with, really, like that identity of what does it mean to be an American or Mexican or Mexican-American, Chicano, Latino, it's like kind of navigating that journey and really trying to find out or decide who I am.
How let's say let's go back to when you first came to the U.S.
Yeah.
What was your first memory of stepping foot like in a different country?
Snow, really, really cold. I don't remember much about actually crossing the border. We were in Texas for a little while before we went up to Indiana.
Okay.
But by far the most concrete memory I have of coming to the U.S. was getting to Indiana, and it was a couple really bad snowstorms that they had that year. I think to this day it's still record snowfall, but just stepping into like 12 inches of snow and thinking of how beautiful it looked as a kid, but then immediately feeling how shockingly cold it was.
Yeah.
And I said, I wait.
You didn't need the yellow snow, right? Just to make sure.
Yeah, no, not to this day I haven't. But it was something that stuck with me over the years.
What when you walked out like in the snow, did you like came prepared with a snow outfit or did you something like say the first time I ever saw snow was in Galveston, like in the Christmas Eve actually.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything that's snow related, but all you have to do is just put a bunch of layers on y vámonos pa' afuera.
Yeah, no, same thing. We were definitely underprepared, and I think I have pictures of the little jackets that we were wearing. We had sweatpants on, tennis shoes, and but you quickly learn to start layering up and getting more clothes on you. So.
Man, that's cool. So when you guys moved, was it like you and your whole family, or was it just like say your parents? How was that process for you?
Yeah, so my mom actually, we've got a pretty large family on her side. I've got 11 aunts and uncles, and all of them, with the exception of my mom at that time, were already in the U.S. Primarily in Texas, and then some folks up in Indiana. So that was definitely a calling for her to come be closer to her parents. But my father, at the time, he had gone to college in Mexico and worked on. He was a diesel fuel technician and had his own shop and was running his own business and doing pretty well at it. Within reason for a small rural town, but we ended up coming, my sister, my mother, and I with my grandparents, and my father stayed behind 1 year to close out his accounts with the business and kind of just really close everything out. So the first year it was on our own, living with my grandparents, and then after that my pops joined us, and we've been here ever since. I was just able to go back to Mexico last year for the first time, and now I'm plotting on how to
go back.
How to go back. Yeah.
What whenever your dad was here, what was, say for example, the first thing is, do you guys feel like there was a separation anxiety, or was it something that like what was going through your mind? Because the reason I'm asking is, when I grew up, my mom crossed the border. She was the one that initiated everything for us to come.
Yeah.
So in both times, we had we were separated. My mom would be coming first, and then the first time my mom came, and then my dad like a month later, and then we came 6 months afterwards.
Yeah.
The second time my mom came, and then we waited till like the rest of us commit pretty much at the same time.
Yep.
So But it was like in like, you know, you're going like 10 years old, and so you're still going from a kid to like the preteen.
Yeah.
And then whenever you went, the second time, I was already a teenager, but I was going from 14 to 15. So, you know, you're going from high school to from secundaria to high school. So what was like, say for you, what grade were you in? Like what grade or how old were you when that happened?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's something I think about a lot, where just not comparing, but looking at my experience as an immigrant in this country, and then thinking and hearing other folks like yourself, like you're sharing right now, and I've just come to the conclusion that there's never a good time, but it's usually the right move. I was 5.5 years old, and so I went to school. I never went to school in Mexico. I think I was in preschool perhaps, but I went kindergarten through 12th grade here in the U.S. And so for me, it was a little bit different, where I think just still had that naivety of like not really knowing what was going on. I remember we would talk to my pops very often, and I would always look forward to that, the phone calls, but I never really felt too much of that separation anxiety, because it was always a reassurance that he was going to join us. And again, I think I was young enough to just not know how tricky that could be in the then and current immigration system in the U.S. So yeah, not too much sweat on my part, and then also being with my mom. I think we were very fortunate. My mom was pregnant at the time, so now I have two sisters, and it just seems to be one of the recurring things whenever I talk to folks, is there's always this strong maternal figure, you know, whether it be a mom or an abuelita or a tia. It's like really, I think, the backbone of Mexico and other countries, where it's just like, my mom's tough as hell.
Yeah.
You know? As soon as we got here, she was hell-bent on making it comfortable for us and being able to fit in and get a job. And they bought a house, they bought a car. You know, they really just kind of put in the work, and it all started with her, really. So I can relate to what you're sharing right now with your mama, where it's like that also helped me kind of stay at peace and not think too much about our dad being a couple 100 miles away.
Man, that's good. What's your mom's name?
María Magdalena Montalvo.
Otra María.
Yeah.
María, saludos.
Otra, saludos, ama.
No, that's good, man. I think it's always like, say, it's one of those weird things that, you know, women like in Mexico, they take initiative for a lot of things.
Oh yeah. And they don't get the credit for it.
But that's good. The fact that as soon as you guys came in, like, she was able to accommodate, you know, things for you guys to feel like you were. Sorry, eso salió bien bueno. You were actually like coming in and feeling comfortable instead of having to worry about what am I gonna sleep, what am I gonna eat. I mean, she did the best she could, and that's greatly appreciated, because as you grow up, you know, you're always seeking for that.
Oh yeah.
You know, you're always seeking for, you know, how can I, you know, like, say it's not, you don't have much, but con lo que hay es con lo que trabajas.
Oh yeah. And I think it took me a while to get there and realize it, and a part of that was really me running away from home, but to truly appreciate how, even with all the challenges or struggles I feel that I've had in this country, at the same time, I've been super privileged because of my mother and my pops as well, and just the amount of work and time and energy that they were willing to spend when we were kids to give us a better shot again at life that maybe they felt they didn't have, you know. So I've definitely never up until I started going out into the world for my own, I've never felt a want for housing or food or warmth, you know, other than, you always want the new PlayStation or the new Power Ranger, and my parents were definitely not spoiling us with any of that, but I've never had to worry about, as a kid, I never had to worry about where my next meal was going to come from, or whether or not we were going to have a roof over our heads. And I know that stability isn't guaranteed to everyone. There's a lot of folks that don't get that shot. So super grateful for everything my folks have done.
You feel like, say, having that stability helped you be stable as you grew up older? Like, hey, you got to have stuff in order for you to, you know, to at least have the basics. And, okay, you know, if I don't have this, then for sure, like, I'm not comfortable with living, like, in a living situation.
Yeah, no, it's definitely spoiled me in a sense where I think I've had roommates once in my life, and I've just, beyond that, it's been ingrained in me. It's been just second hand that, hey, you pay your rent, you have a place to stay, you know, you buy your groceries, you pay your bills, like you have your transportation, be it the bus or be it a vehicle. It's like you figure out those things, and you're not bothering other people for them. So that's definitely been I think a learned behavior from seeing how my folks interacted with the world.
Man, that's good. And so from you guys came here legally, and then when did you realize you were, you know, your legality here in quotations expired, and you're like, oh man, ahora sí, de inmigrante?
Yeah, so it was a big blow to me. I didn't realize it until I was so that visa, I'm sure, was for a year tops, and we overstayed it by a long shot. But it wasn't until either freshman or sophomore year of high school, and folks were starting to look at, what are you going to do for college, and where are you going to go, and do you want to play a sport? And I started to get some interest from soccer programs and offers for tours of the campus, and every single one always kind of had a dotted line where it said, like, put in your social security number. And I was like, oh, I don't know what that is, you know. I haven't seen that before. And I started asking my folks, and I felt so silly not knowing what it was. But that's when it really hit me, where I was like, oh shit, I'm not from here, and I can't do the same things. Or, not that you can't do them, but that's what I thought at the time, and that's what I told myself, kind of very self-defeating, of like, oh, I can't do the same things my peers can, and it really hit me hard. I went from being always in the top 3 in my class, never struggling with academics, and I went from that to just like not wanting anything to do with it, and really throwing it all away and saying I don't want to go to any college, because, again, really believing and thinking that I wasn't legally allowed to do it. And so when in reality it was more so for scholarships and things like that. But I think there was still I know now that there was still a path, and there's many other folks that have worked harder to get there. But I gave up on it pretty easily. That's still one of my that's one of the few things in life where I'm like, man, I'm stubborn as hell, but I didn't try hard enough to get into college.
Yeah.
Most everything else in life, I think my wife can attest to it, where other folks are like, oh, it can't be done. I'm like, give me a little bit of time and give me some patience, and I think I can do it. But college was something where I was like, I don't think I can do it.
I think it is más como, you know, technical. You're more hands-on.
Yeah.
And you don't, you know, like, say, for example, you're more of okay, I find this. Lo veo. All right, I can figure it out. I can fix it.
Yeah.
Pero un libro, I feel like te aburriría, como you won't really focus.
Yeah, no, I do have a lot of trouble focusing.
Yeah.
I was able to always like kill exams, but I could not listen through, or I couldn't do homework or hit deadlines. I gave my teachers so many headaches because I never did the homework, but then I come in for their exam and just ace it.
Yeah.
Because I paid attention to what they were saying, and for me that was enough, and I didn't understand why they wanted me to show my work or turn in a paper. But
man, I'm the complete opposite. I'm very good at following, like looking at a lecture, understanding it, working progress.
yeah,
But exams, ahí me dan. Like, I get the concepts and I get what everybody's like, whatever they're teaching.
yeah,
But the exam part is on the it was just, for me, I always thought like an exam shouldn't define my education. It's my progress.
yeah.
No. I mean, you can't beat the system.
No, and I mean, I agree. I think you see that as I've gotten older. That's something I've really grown to appreciate, is that we just all approach things and interact with the world differently, and there's not one right or wrong strategy. It's just like what works for you to get there and to feel growth and like you said, progress from it, and grow as a person. So I've been working on that for sure, of like letting go of what I did or didn't do with school and focusing on the stuff that I am able to do right now, and try to make my little corner of the world a little bit better. So,
were you able to graduate? Like, did you graduate high school, or was it que sabes qué? Nah, hombre.
Yeah. I graduated high school here in Texas, actually. Okay. So my junior year in Indiana, I was captain of the soccer team, and like I said, all my friends were starting to look at where they were going to go to school, and I ran away. I told my parents I was coming down to Texas to visit una tía que tengo en Houston, and really my plan was to go try out in Pachuca, Universidad de Fútbol. I wanted to go to university and play soccer in Mexico and kind of shoot my shot.
So you wanted to go back to Mexico?
Oh, yeah.
A ver.
But my mom, I mean, she was furious after the amount of work they put in to get us here. I was trying to go back to Mexico, and my dad, he's always been more understanding and kind of given us free reign and let us do what we wanted to. They got divorced when I was young, and I actually chose to live with my dad, or not chose, again, being stubborn as hell. I made it happen because that's what I wanted to do, and so I kind of I fed off of that, growing up with him and having that support of, hey, if do whatever you think is right, and if you fall down, that's okay. I'm here if you need a hand getting back up. And so, I ran it by him. He was the only person I told what my true intentions were, and he was like, hey, it's going to be hard, but if you think you can do it, go try it.
¿Y le va al Pachuca él o?
No, es a los Correcaminos y a la América.
Es todo.
No sé por qué, pero...
A los Correcaminos y a la América.
Sí.
Dude, man, that's interesting how you were, on the way back and want to go try out. I actually knew, El Abuelo Cruz? You heard of him?
I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with him.
So his nephew, he grew up, and because of, like, say, I grew up in a Christian environment, so everyone was like, tienes hay una visión que recibí donde vas a jugar fútbol y vas a ser profesional.
Yeah.
So they ingrained that into that, that guy. And that guy was very good. Don't get me wrong. He was in his senior year, he won first place in the district cross country. Very good soccer player. Pero lo que no supo cómo manejar la situación de que no tenía papeles.
Yeah.
And after high school, that whole, whether he would go to Monterrey or stay, that paid a toll on him. And it was a, like, you can see a way in and out in his emotions, because in his mind, he's like, everybody's telling me that, there's a vision and there's this promise that I have to go, and I'm going to be a professional soccer player. But they never really gave him the what if that doesn't happen, like, with the backup plan. What if that, that's the case. And he ended up struggling for some time, and I think he's doing better right now. But for a while, it was just after high school, like reality hit him that, maybe that was not going to be the case. And he wasn't prepared mentally or emotionally for everything that would happen.
Yeah.
So, like, say for you, whenever you wanted to go back to, Mexico and play, but you didn't end up going, and you stayed here, how was that for you? What went through your mind?
Oh, it was rough. It's I can relate to that, where it's just nobody prepares you for that, and nobody tells you what the right thing to feel or think is. I grew up with, like I said, being at the very top of my class, always hearing my teachers say, "Oh, you could be president of the United States one day if you wanted to be." Mm-hmm. And then when I got to that point in my life where I realized what it meant to be undocumented and to be an immigrant, I was like, well, shit, I want to be president of the U.S., but I can't even get started. It's like not even possible for me. And so, it takes a toll on you to hear folks build you up and to kind of know or think of what you're capable of, mm-hmm. but then to also see it written down and hear it spewed out by politicians of what you're not able to do, mm-hmm. and what you're not allowed to do. And I used the term illegal immigrant for a long time because that's really what I thought I was, mm-hmm. and that's why I wear this hat now as often as I can, because it's like nobody's illegal, mm-hmm. and no, it's something that definitely I think I struggled with, and I still struggle with from in the present day. It's different now. I have residency now, temporary at the moment, and then within the next year or so it should be permanent. But it's not through any merit. It's not through anything that I've done.
Yeah.
Of my, I got married and I love my wife, and it's been life-changing, but it's not anything that I did that was like an accolade or that showed any merit for me being in this country. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of how the rules are set out. But the mentality, I think, when I was coming back down to Mexico and ended up getting getting stuck in Texas, mm-hmm. was really just being cautious. It was like I started to think about my parents and their journey and the sacrifices they've made, and it started to feel reckless to potentially throw that away if I didn't make it. What if I go to Pachuca and I try out and I don't get in? Like, where does that leave my parents that gave up everything they had?
Yeah.
Because they were happy. By all accounts, they were happy in Mexico. Like, we were poor. We had a small house, but it was their house. Like I said, my pops had his business. Their family was nearby, and the lifestyle is definitely different. It's more humble. It's definitely more poor, but it's a happy lifestyle oftentimes, and it just felt kind of like a slap in the face to them to risk that and potentially throw it away. So that kept me at bay, and I've been here ever since now. I think 12, 13 years in Texas. When
you moved to Texas, you were like flying, or did you take a bus?
I took a bus. I didn't think I could fly. Same thing because of not being able to get a passport and not having a social. So I saved up my money and bought a Greyhound ticket, and I won't forget it because it's a 27-hour ride on Greyhound, which if you've never been on a Greyhound bus, it's the most uncomfortable thing, and it's all the people that can't fly. So it's always a wild experience being on it. But
and that 27-hour ride gave you enough time to think.
Oh yeah,
because imagine if it was just a flight
No,
Yeah,
it was poetic. I remember I remember getting here, and at the time I was a lot better about journaling. I had my little notebook that I would scribble my thoughts in, and I remember just letting loose about my thoughts. And I would look at billboards on the highway, and it would send me spiraling into a deep thought. And I still remember one outside of Houston, which is where I first landed. One outside of Houston that said something along the lines of if you believe, you can do it here, and that was super reassuring to me, of like, especially after getting to know the city, of like, hey, if you have an idea or a dream and you're willing to put in the work, you can have a go at it here. So that's what I've been after.
So you were here for a good while. Did you, like, say when DACA came around, were you able to apply for it or?
I was like the ideal recipient for DACA. I was going through the process of applying with the attorney, but it ended up getting superseded by a pending case that I had through my parents. When my parents got divorced, my mother unfortunately had a partner that was very abusive, and she was able to take that and kind of work through that trauma and apply for a U visa, so a visa for victims of abuse, and that ended up going through the system around the same time that DACA that I was applying for DACA. I already was down here in Texas on my own at that point, and so it was kind of news to me, news to my mom, and news to the lawyer all at the same time. Where it was like, I remember getting that letter of, after paying the money and sending the forms and saying, hey, you don't qualify for DACA.
Damn, dude, that sucks.
But this is why.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was another shot at it, where it was like, hey, this is it was a temporary residency. And I think after it was for 3 years, I believe. And after the first 3 years or 2 years, you go and apply for a permanent residency. But I let the ball drop on it. I was working, been working cash paying jobs all my adult life. And I really, since I was 13, started working in detasseling in Indiana, and then just working anything that would pay me cash after that. And because of that, I never really had vacations or time off, and I ended up just kind of putting it aside. Al rato, I'll get to it. And I never went in to renew the visa, and by the time I did, it was too late.
Dang.
So,
dude, that's man, I imagine what would have, like, say, for example, one thing that helped me have some hope, even if it was slim, it was just DACA, because I was able to work and get a Social Security. Yep. But I imagine, like, say, for example, like, knowing that you can be eligible for it because of a certain thing that's outside of your control. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was a big blow to your, everything.
No, yeah, it's easy to, I guess, catastrophize and really beat yourself up over it. But again, that's just the way that it's not just the way, it's unfortunately intentionally how the laws are set up in this country, sure. And it's very, very slow progress, I think, in the right direction at times, but then we take 10 steps backwards. Yeah. And there's a lot of vested interests in there, and there's a lot of bad intentions, but it's kind of the game we play here of how to keep going.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad, like, you kept going. I'm pretty sure it could have been tough, because you mentioned you moved to Houston. You moved to Houston with your uncle, or?
Yeah, so I went down there. Like I said, I told my parents I was visiting. I told everyone that I was visiting one of my tias down there, an aunt, and it was supposed to be for the summer, and then I was going to go back for school. And when the summer was coming to an end, my aunt said, "Hey, you got to start looking at your trip back." And I said, "I don't want to go back." And she was like, "Well, you can't stay here. You know, I gotta get you back to your parents." And I was like, "No, I'll figure it out." And so, I started going door to door. I looked at where the high school was for the neighborhood, and I started in that radius, kind of going door to door and seeing which apartment complex I would stand a chance at getting in at, and seeing what the most affordable one bedroom would be, or studio apartment. And one of the women in a leasing office for a building was, she felt bad for me. She took pity. She said, "I know." She was a Mexican woman, and she said, "I've got a kid about your age, and he's in college right now, and I can't imagine if he would be in your shoes. So, like, let me see what I can do." And she put me in touch with some folks that were looking for a roommate. And it was 4 of us. It was 3 grown men and me, a 17-year-old, sharing a 1-bedroom apartment. But I loved every second of it, you know.
What year was that?
That was in 2010.
Oh, man, about 12 years ago.
Yeah, 2010. And then, I just decided to finish high school, to at least give my parents that before going off to Mexico. And I set off to do that, and then got distracted with food. I needed money to pay my share of the apartment. And so one constant thing throughout my life has been that I've always loved eating. Everybody in my family either knows me as Mago, or the older folks know me as Gordo. When I was a little kid, I was just a butterball, and I've always loved to eat, and it stuck with me. And when my parents got divorced, like I said, I went to live with my dad, and he made it very clear early on that, like, I'm your father and I love you, but really we're roommates. You know, if you want to eat, you gotta cook it for yourself. You know, and you gotta work, and you gotta take care of yourself. I'll help you where I can, but he was working so much that I ended up having to learn how to do that for myself, and I really liked it. And so
learn how to chop it up in the kitchen.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad at first. I remember checking out like Rachel Ray cookbooks. And
you did the Rachel Ray pozole?
Oh, not anymore. Not anymore, but it was bad for a second. I would just make stuff that was not healthy for you, but I was like, well, I made it, so I got to eat it now. And that's how you learn, I think, just making those mistakes and forcing yourself to eat it when that's all you have. So, but by the time I got to Houston, I was pretty comfortable making certain things, and the 3 Guatemaltecos that I was sharing that apartment with, they were all chefs at a restaurant, and they were just fascinated by my journey up to that point and what I was doing, and super welcoming and super willing to help as well. And so they were like, I kind of tossed this idea of selling food at school, and they were like, yeah, we can get you this sazon from the restaurant. And they couldn't tell me what it was at the time. Now, as an adult and as a cook myself, like, I was like, oh, it was white pepper with a couple other things. But I tasted that, and I was like, okay, this is what I can do. I can make some money off of this to pay my rent. And so I started going to La Michoacana and La Moreliana and the Panaderias, and I started looking at what ingredients they had there and what I could afford, and trying to think about what I could make and conceptualize carrying to school, and I decided on tortas. And so I bought the stuff to make some. Well, I went around school first and started asking folks, hey, if I sold you a torta for, I think it was $12, I think I said at the time. If I sold you a torta for $12 and it had this, and this on it, and I gave you some sabritas and a coca and some fruit and a bag of chips, would was that something you would be into? And they were like, yeah, sign me up. When are you doing it? And so that's how it started. I saw the kind of the response to it, and so I did it, and ended up from that point forward really just like selling out every day of like I remember still like I could carry 12 of those meals, 12 tortas, and I had a hielera with drinks, a lonchera with all the tortas, another bag that had all the chips and peanuts and fruits, and then I had my backpack with all my books and my work, and I would show up to school just like a hot mess, but Houston's a different animal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the teachers would buy from me, and,
Nice.
and they would let me store my stuff in their room, so I wasn't carrying it around all day. And you'd hear them saying, "Here comes the torta man." So that was really kind of my beginnings in food.
What high school did you go to in Houston?
Stephen Poole Waltrip in Northwest Houston.
Okay.
Is the claim to fame is that's the high school that the Undertaker
Went to?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that high school got two legends, you know, Mago and Undertaker. Mago and then Undertaker. Yeah. Dude, how so you figured that out? You're like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, you know, make the hustle.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have, you know, easily gone the route on the Te Valió Madre and, you know, started hustling a different route.
Oh, yeah.
But you chose to sell tortas. And because you saw what, you know, the seasoning, so you got to taste it, you get to, you know, experience it.
Yep.
And you got to, you know, in your mind, okay, this is what I know I can do. That opened your mind to your vision to like expand it and not just, you know, do something that like say would have gotten you in trouble. And a lot of it, that's a conscious decision because you're at, you know, at that age, you know, especially when you're faced in these situations, you're either going to go try to do the right way, or you're going to go end up doing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'm glad you're able to choose, you know, the right way, you know. I'm glad that you didn't end up going in a path where it could have been easy because of your situation to derail and just fall in like in bad hands or, you know, bad habits.
Oh, yeah.
That would lead to, you know, I feel like your goal was to get somewhere and you know, at the end of the day, like make your living, and then you didn't choose to do that the easy way.
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely testament again to my parents, you know, and seeing their hustle and their struggle, and it again, it would just, for me personally, it would feel too disrespectful or destructive to what the amount of sacrifice and work that they've put in to get me where I'm at, to just go the easy route. And so I've always kind of had that for good or for bad. You know, sometimes it can be too much. I know in Latino or Mexican families, oftentimes you're up against that not taboo, but como se dice, just a stigma of what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and like what your tios and tias are gonna say about you, but no, it's always been it's always loomed over me of like, what would my parents do and what have they done up to this point? And just trying to be mindful of what I am doing, and then also dealing again with being undocumented at the time. It gave me I've always been super inquisitive, and I know I've loved just challenging other people's preconceived notions or absolutes on certain things. So it also gave me this cool space to operate within, where I was like, I'm going to do things within the rules, but I'm still going to break the ones that I don't.
That little gray area.
Yeah, that gray area. And that's kind of the space that I live in really to this day. Like ultimately wanting, like I said, to bring other folks up, but also understanding that it's like,
it's not black or white.
It's not black or white, you know. You shouldn't always follow the rules. Like life's too short. So.
You know, that's actually say as I grew up. I grew up in a Christian environment where, super conservative. It's either o eres frío o eres caliente. Pero tibios los va a vomitar Dios del reino de los cielos. And I'm like, whatever. But then I started growing up. I started thinking, my mind is like, my conviction is not the same conviction as this guy in the altar that's telling me how to live. The music that I want to listen to, if I want to drink a beer or not. Whatever he ended up doing worked out for him, and that's great. He chose to be either black or white.
Yeah.
But not everybody's in that same scenario because you're the way you feel is different than him. The way you think is different than him, or him and her, or her. So, and that's one thing that I also started to, embrace, is just that you just try to find your comfort, not your comfort, but like know your limits. Like, you can't be too loose, but you can also be too strict. Yeah. You know when you can stop. Know when, say, for example, you feel like you're going a little too hard on the weekends. Yeah. Know when you're like, you know what? Maybe for this next couple of weeks, I'm going to take it easy and, watch movies and eat ice cream at the house. And that's a lot of times, that helps from experiences in life.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you didn't learn from those gray areas, then you would not know how to react to real life situations. Especially like, say, now in life where there's so many different options and there's so many different, we're so overly saturated with social media and everything.
Yep.
So I feel like as you grow, how to know, your boundaries in those gray areas, how to, live a more, a life with a little more guidance, a life with a little more structure, where, okay, I know this curve right here, if I make it too sharp, ahí va a valer madre. So let me just, get in that curve, but find my way in so I can get over the hill. I think about it as we were driving up and going on a volcano. The narrow path going up and driving. You have to learn how to, okay, I need to make this turn, but I have to like stay within before my car flips over.
Yeah.
So that's as immigrants especially, we have to face that. Like, say it's easier for someone that that has papeles or was born here.
Yeah.
To have a little more of a lenience or leverage. But like with us, it was more de que tienes que estar más al tiro porque algo malo, a bad step or a misstep, y ahí se va todo.
Yeah, no, you're held to a higher standard by your own, by your family, by yourself, but also by the government and other folks. In that example, actual citizens. It's always like, well, Mexicanos this or Mexicanos that, and it's like, well, no, when you're talking about a big group of folks, it's like, yeah, there's some folks that are not playing by the rules, or there's some folks that are doing X thing, but it's not indicative of the whole population. Yeah. But it ends up being this really big pressure, I think, and unfortunately for a lot of folks, too much at times, where it like almost hinders you or inhibits you from taking risks or doing certain things that you could really enjoy or that you would possibly thrive in, but you're not able to because you're afraid, because you've been told you're not allowed to do these things. A running joke that I have with my wife Hayden is that she'll point out sometimes when I'm doing, I still haven't, to this day, I still don't have a valid driver's license. And now it's on me, I can actually go and get it now. I just need to make the appointment, but with COVID and bureaucracy, the DMV is always backed up. And I'm always working, so I've put it off, and it's entirely on myself now. But a running joke is that she'll say, "Well, you're driving illegally. And I'm like, yeah, I've always done everything clandestinely, you know, and that's something I've been very fortunate to get comfortable with and know where I can, like, yeah, that's the rule or that's the law, but it's not actually for what's good or for what's bad. It's for other reasons, you know, and I'm comfortable breaking that, because I'm also one of the best drivers I know. You know, I've never been in any accidents, never even been close. You know, it's like, but it's really tough. It's really tough to live with that.
I had to go renew my license because of my DACA was renewed, and the timing of it was just weird because my thing was just, you know, within days of expiring.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I guess I have to go, but I forgot to make an appointment. So someone like, you know, if you show up early, sometimes they take 1 or 2 people in. So I showed up like 6 in the morning. Oof. And by that time, I go in there, and there was, you know, they already had filled those empty spots. And I was like, dang it. However, in the counter, there was this lady that didn't speak English, and the person that works there didn't speak Spanish. So I'm like, oh, this is my opportunity. So I'm over here like, I can help you translate. Oh, thank you very much. Like, no worries. So I'm over here translating for them. And then as soon as they're done, she's like, how can I help you? And I'm like, actually, I do need your help. She's like, you didn't make an appointment. I'm like, I didn't. She's like, okay, come tomorrow. Let me open up really quick. So nice. she was able to give me an appointment earlier there. So sometimes, you know, just being a translator helps out. You know.
Yes, just being human. and that's the thing, right? Where it's like, no, like you're saying, it's like you're held to a different standard. It's a different set of rules. But I think you can take advantage of it. It's not often, but sometimes you can use that to your advantage.
It's like when the opportunity is there, that's when you got to take advantage of it.
Because it's usually an uphill battle, you know? It's like, it's rough. Like we're talking about licenses right now. It's like, as a U.S. citizen, you grow up, and I don't know what it is, 16, 17, that you can start getting your license and going out on the road. And oftentimes you're super afraid or super reckless, you know, but regardless, you're kind of making things worse on the road for everyone else. But you can just happily go about your life from that point forward. And for someone that's undocumented, it's like you can be the best driver in anywhere. You know, you can be the best driver on earth, and you constantly have that over your shoulder.
Yeah, like, you look at a cop, you're like this.
Yeah.
You're driving like this.
Yeah, you don't want to, you know, look the wrong way or breathe differently for fear that you'll get pulled over, because it's like that means potentially you're going back to your country and you know, like I said, either everything you've built or everything your parents did or your grandparents, you know, it's like it all goes tumbling down just like that very quickly. And I've had my run-ins with it. My mother was detained by ICE, and she was in a I mean, essentially prison is what it was. But she was in a holding facility indefinitely. I think it ended up being around a month. But it's a different set of standards and a different set of rules, where it's like, unlike the U.S. criminal system, is like they don't even tell you how long you're in there for.
You're just in there.
You're in there for being a person, you know, and you're in there until they say that you're not, or until they say that you're going back home. So, it's rough.
Yeah, man. We were in California, and we went back because my dad got pulled over after a parent-teacher conference, and basically in that time, like, I did not like school. So we're in the car, and my dad was like, man, we should just go back to Mexico. And after he said that, and then it's like, oh, crap. So then he ended up going to jail for 10 days, and he signed a voluntary leave. So we ended up going back to Mexico. But that kind of helped me, you know, like, say it was tough, because I love California. I love living there. Yeah. Even though, like, we had the worst financial situation, you know, you can have. But going back to Mexico helped me feel more connected to the culture.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if like say in California, it was, you know, being Mexican, it was looked down on. So going back to Mexico, you know, embracing like who I am as a Mexican, embracing who I am and what I do and, you know, where I'm from. When I came back, it was like another culture shock because you're coming in, we're like, I'm Mexican, this and that. We're coming into a place where there's a lot of Mexicans, but there's like different type of Mexicans, you know. Yeah. There's from El Norte, so over time that gets better. But in that time, like say, you know, when my dad was in jail for 10 days, it was like, you know, we're going to have to get an attorney or you sign a volunteer leave. And it was like the longest 10 days, you know, that happened. And once we were like, all right, we're going to go back. And we were at the border in San Diego. And it was just, you know, going, you know, and taking a taxi to Tijuana. So you can see all your dreams, like just flashing like in front of you, like just like going from San Diego, you can see it turns into Mexico. And you're like, crap, I can't go back. But then we come back and, you know, the same thing is just after crossing the border, you know, you're like in a truck, like sardines. You look up after taking a nap and you see the billboards, you know, and something that's familiar. So you're like, okay, we're back in the game. Now let's do this.
Yeah. No, it's, I don't know. It's always super humbling and super humanizing. I don't know if that's a real word, you know, but it makes me feel more connected when I hear folks say, you know, something like what you just said, where it's just like, yeah, I also was looking at billboards.
Yeah.
And there's just this not strange, it's just this interconnectedness, you know, as an immigrant, as a person, you know, as a human being, to know that you're not alone, you know, and you're not the first to do it, and you won't be the last, and there's other folks that have gone through it, you know, and it's like that's something I wish I would have heard as a kid, you know, looking at college and looking at life, and I wish I would have had someone in my corner to say, hey, like it's gonna be all right, you know. We've done it and we can do it, and it's not gonna be easy by any means, but there's a way, and that's part of the reason why I like to build other people up, because it's like, hey, maybe you haven't been told that you're pretty fucking cool, you know, or you're good at this, or you're funny, or you're smart, you know. It was like, let's find those things in each other and create, instead of just destroying and
bring people down,
breaking things down, you know. That's too easy. And it's
like, that makes sense, because like a lot of the times, even, you know, sometimes as Latinos, you know, we have the tendency of bringing each other down, especially when we're not from here, you know, or someone's not from here, someone that made it, they're easier to look someone down. It's kind of like, wait, I mean, I saw you, and I saw you who you were back in the days. Oh, sorry. Te voy a dar la chela. Let me get you some more beer. Ay, güey. Los días que tomé mezcal, amanecí casi muerto.
No, a besitos.
Hambre, güey, así era. Yo era de... Pero es que también... Yo was like, pa. Y ya llegando a la casa, güey, tuve el olor de el sabor de mezcal como por una semana, güey. Y eso sí, me dijeron, no, es a besitos. Dije, pues... Me hubieran dicho, yo soy bien atrabancado.
No, el mezcal es a besitos.
A besitos. Salud. So, yeah, man. I think in a Hispanic community, we have to find ways to, you know, to uplift each other.
Yep. No, I agree.
And not feel like everything's a competition, or, you know, because someone has something nice, it's like, oh man, I gotta beat him at that. Like, nah, dude, find your own swag, find your own, you know, rhythm.
Yeah.
And you know, if you see something someone that you admire, you know, that's good, but don't try to copy it. And we tend to have that, you know, the thing where we either see something and we want to replicate exactly the same, or we see something or someone making it and we want to, we're envidiosos.
Yeah.
But that's good how you're trying to bring the good from everyone. I think that's why every time, we go play pickup, everybody's around it. Like, there's a group of, 10 Verdes and Murgas hanging out with you and Hayden, because you guys, the conversation is always just, capping on each other, but, in a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's surreal at times because I've actually, like, both Hayden and I have struggled with, like, social anxiety.
Yeah.
And I mean, just anxiety in general, really. And also being a little or a lot awkward and not knowing what to say and never really feeling like we've been able to have too many friends.
Mm-hmm.
But with this group, it's been nice to be able to connect and kind of feel a part of that community. And then,
mm-hmm.
like you said, yeah, it's like I'm the first one to dog on you, but in good fun.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like I can make fun of something, but I can also see like 10 things in you that I love and that I want to highlight, because that's what really matters. The other stuff, it's like, yeah, it's just human.
Superficial.
Yeah, it's superficial, or it's just normal. We all fart. We all.
Even Beyonce.
Yeah. Even Beyonce. Maybe not Rihanna.
Not Rihanna. Oh, she's gonna be in the Super Bowl performing.
I heard. I'm super excited. She's back.
That's badass, dude. How do you and Hayden meet?
We met. So, like I said, I moved down to Texas. I thought I was gonna finish out high school in Houston, and ended up visiting Austin because of an uncle that I had here, and just was visiting him over winter break. He went to pick me up from Houston, and he really suckered me in. Kind of took me to Zilker, Mount Bonnell, all the Austin institutions, and I was like, I want to stay. And so I lived with him, finished out my last year of high school, and I met her out in Bastrop. That's where I went to high school at, and I played soccer with her brother, and that was at this point 12 years ago. But I found out later, I had this big old crush on her, but again, with anxiety and not being comfortable talking to folks, I was too nervous to say anything. And then I found out later, she also had a big old crush on me. But it wasn't until just a few years ago, with you fast forward and me living in Austin and running Paprika, and the pandemic starts, and just posting on like Instagram, and we had kept in touch just loosely, just like, oh, that looks cool when you're on trips and stuff, and just saying hello and stuff, but never really getting to know each other too much. But the pandemic happened, and I was on there just desperately saying like, come eat with us, because we would get 5 people coming.
Come eat
sometimes.
with us.
Come eat with us. And she stopped by, she's like, oh, I went to high school with this guy and played soccer with my brother. And she stopped by to get some food and say hi. And after that, I just was like saying thank you. And the conversation just went from there. And we started talking really every day. And then it turned into like a hike, and then a date, and then before you know it, we were getting married. So
you had Paprika open during the pandemic, or?
Yeah, I opened up just before the pandemic, October of 2019. We were mobile, and
was it you by yourself or?
Not I couldn't do it by myself ever. That's something I think folks don't realize. There's definitely services that I've worked by myself, and there's a lot of components that I can do on my own, but it's not a one-man show. I've had a lot of help over the years. It's we're going on 3 years now of Paprika, and in the very beginning, it was my madrecita. Really, it was my mother that was instrumental. Yeah,
oh, that's good.
I called her and I told her what I was thinking of doing and taking a chance on. And she said, whatever you need. And I was like, well, I think I need your help. I think I need you down here to
You're
help.
like, I need two things, your help, and also I'm trying to get, talk to this lady over here.
Yeah.
And I'm shooting my shot, so I need time
Yeah.
for me to take her out on a trail walk.
No, it was a big ask, but she was, like I said, just that determination to see her family succeed. She was down for it, and I flew up to Indiana, and then we drove one of her cars back down here. And yeah, she lived with me. She stayed with me. I was single at the time. She stayed with me for a year and helped me work on the truck. It was pretty rough shape when I bought it used, and but just having this vision of what it could be, and we made it happen. We put it to work, and I still remember like the first service that we had. We used to go to offices, and I remember going out and just being completely, just getting our asses kicked. The first service was awful.
Yeah.
And but I loved every second of it, and we just went from there, started building it, and yeah, she helped me for the first couple of months, and then the pandemic happened, and I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I didn't want her exposed to anything, so just started having her stay at home, and eventually she ended up going back to Indiana. I was doing it by myself for a little while, and throughout it, yeah, meeting Hayden, and she'd been a teacher for like the last 7 years, and was really good at it, but was just so willing and ready to help that she, as we started to get closer and closer, she would drop in and be like, I want to help on Tuesday. She'd come in after her day at school, and it turned into like, oh, well, what about Thursday, and then what about Saturday, and I mean, she, again, with the women figures in my life, I'm always just grateful and amazed by the strength and determination that they have, and the amount of work that they're able to put in without expecting anything in return. She was working 2 full-time jobs. She was working at school full-time, and then she would clock out and come to Paprika and pull another full shift.
Orale.
And that's really what kept us going for a little while.
So whenever you guys started working together, was it like as friends, or ya estabas ahí acá?
No, we were, so at that point when we were dating, she was just helping out for just really to spend time together, and she's like, oh, well, you're by yourself, so I can stand
she
here.
took advantage of the situation.
I can stand here and
she's
say,
like, I can help you with tortillas, ay, loco.
Well, now she doesn't want anything to do but the tortillas. So I started off saying, hey, help me on the window and talk to people, and I can cook their food. And now she cooks more than I do. She doesn't want anything to do with the window. She wants to make all the tortillas and make the carnitas and everything. And she's good at it. She's really good at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a journey. And then we got married at the truck, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it was early on in the pandemic. We didn't want to have a bunch of folks gathering. We didn't have the money for a wedding, so we had a couple of my tios and tias come by. One of my tios was going to be one of my cousins was going to be the officiant, the ordained minister, and then her folks and her siblings. And we just said, yeah, we'll do it in front of the truck. That's kind of what we've been doing day to day, and that's all we know right now. And so we all hung out at the truck. We catered our own wedding and made a big olla of frijoles charros.
Oh, well.
And we made, I think one of my tias brought some galletas de boda. And but then while we were in our little, like, Target outfits, I think when, like, 1 o'clock came around, we said, all right, todos pa' fuera. We kicked everyone out, and we put our aprons on, and
we now let's pay for los frijoles.
Yeah, we put up the trompo, and we had a full service after that. We had a full work day, so it's like, I don't know. It's something that I look back on fondly. I know it's not like the wedding I think anybody would really want or ask for, but I love it because it's ours, and it's, I think, indicative of what we bring to the table and what we're about. So
Hayden, she was a teacher, and then she ended up like quitting her job and just coming here for like full time, or
just recently, actually, this summer.
Okay.
Teaching is one of those professions that's like critical, one of the most critical things that you can do for a society, but it's super undervalued and underpaid. So she was kind of grappling with that, and then at the same time dealing with her husband, trying to make his vision happen, and she ended up, we talked through it, and it was very much her decision and her idea to leave school and come over to Paprika full time, and so that's what we do now.
When did y'all get married?
We got married in that's a loaded question. If I get this one wrong on camera. No, we got married in I keep saying last year because it really feels like it's been a blur, but it's been 2 years now. We celebrated 2 years in July.
July 2020?
July 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, we got, my wife and I, we got married in September 2020. So
okay, yeah.
It does feel like a year. Like it does feel like de volada.
Yeah.
Because of everything. So now, and I would like say, for example, I probably would also be saying August and,
oh yeah,
or July, and my birthday's in July, and I don't know, but.
Oh no, I get in trouble for it for sure. Even like anything, the dates, times, numbers, I'm lousy with.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, man. So I got married in the truck, and then you ended up, órale, vámonos a trabajar.
Yeah.
Man, that's a unique thing. And then Hayden coming in. What was, like, say, for example, whenever you had Paprika and then Hayden come in, do you feel like her touch, was it noticeable, or how was that process for y'all?
Yeah, no, it's been super defining. Initially, it was tough to let go of things, especially because I had been doing it by myself for a little while, because it was so intimate, and it's like Paprika's always been, and I always want it to be an expression and a representation of who I am and what I want to put out into the world. It was tough to deal with any like outside criticism, or like Hayden saying like, oh, I think we should do this differently, or you're doing this and it's not making money, and I'm like, yeah, but that's my food, or that's for my people, and it's like, so it's definitely tough at first, but now it's like she's put in the work, and it's also Hayden is a white woman, and that's been something that we always, I know she struggles with being a Mexican concept, with Mexican food owned by a Mexican, it's like, but it's been something that's been super constructive over time, where it's just like how to exist, how to be real, with what we're doing, where it's like, we're able to kind of have that dual mindset or approach to things of like, what would a paisa say if he saw this price on this taco?
Mm-hmm.
And she's able like, oh, what would a white girl say if she looked at this?
Yeah.
It's like we're able to kind of look at things from two different angles, where she'll say, or I'll say, oh, I never thought about it like that, you know, but you're right.
Yeah.
So we try to meet in the middle somewhere and make it kind of true to ourselves and what we want to do. So
that's so like talking about that, how you're trying to serve two different segments, el paisa and the, you know, the person that can pay for it.
Yeah.
And actually could probably even pay more si le sigue rascando un poquito más.
Oh yeah.
What is something like, say, for example, making a decision like, wait, it can be, because for example, for me, when I first heard Paprika, I thought it was an Indian truck.
Yeah.
And then I saw like, oh crap, and that's actually a taco. They sell tacos.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, it must be someone that, you know, that Paprika, and they're probably just like vegan tacos.
Yeah.
And then I saw, like, say for example, I saw el trampo, like, hey, that looks good. And then not until I met you, I didn't know like you were the owner until someone was like, Paprika, ¿qué onda, güey? ¿Cuándo está abierto? And then I was like, and I think I started following you on social media, and then I saw you there, and I'm like, either he works there or he I mean, he has something to do with it, but it didn't click my mind. You're actually the one that runs the show. And then I didn't know, like, say for example, Hayden was there until like I went and bought food, like, oh hey Hayden, like. Hey.
Yeah, no, it's something we don't like to. I think both of us, you know, we don't think it merits any special attention or any favors. You know, we don't like to brag about it because it's a fucking grind. It's a grind day in and day out, and to this day, like I said, I was at pickup earlier, and to this day, I'll go to pickups with Los Verdes and La Murga, and there's always people that'll say, hey, I heard you're the taco guy, you know, I heard you were at Paprika, and I'm like, yeah, you know, like, I work there, I make tacos, and it's like, you really kind of have to pry it out of us that we, like you said, run the show, because that's not why we got into it. That's not why I've been building it. You know, it's not for the accolades or any of it. You know, it's really to be able to, sustain ourselves to survive, but B, to be able to bridge that gap between folks that, you know, are looking at it on the one side as like, hey, this is very familiar. You know, we have suadero, we have pastor, and it's on a trompo, you know, los palitos. And it's like, and then folks that at times fetishize it, you know, or look at it as from like, yeah, I love Mexican food, but I want like guac and I want this, you know, and it's like, like you said, it's like, I'm willing to pay whatever for it, but I want this. And it's like their idea of what Mexican food is and what Mexican people are, and trying to be that bridge between that, really, you know, of like being accessible and ubiquitous while still being true and genuine, you know, and something that I think folks find comfort in. That's what I tell folks that we do. You know, it's like we make comfort food. We make tacos primarily, but the service, the music, the food, the flavors are all in the hope of making you feel comfortable and hopefully either reconnecting with something that you may have grown up with or that your folks may have grown up with, or forming this new bond, you know, this new tradition. We have a lot of folks that are like, we do Paprika every Saturday for the pastor, and like we've seen a couple pregnancies over the years, you know, and they're like, you're the first meal. Like, I mean, we've literally had a person that stopped by while their wife was in the hospital in labor, or I guess it would be just going into labor, and they were taking food over there, and it was like I asked her what she wanted, and she said paprika make it happen. And so they were there, you know, and we've seen a couple folks like have their babies be born, and they're like, we wanted this to be the celebratory meal or the first meal, you know, and we're like always super touched by that, because it's like we're forming these bonds and these connections with our community, and that's really what we're after.
And was like, say for example, before the, you know, like say the whole Austin FC, Los Verdes, Zamora came about.
Yeah.
What was with the clientele for you guys? Was just like, you guys already have clientele before that, or I mean, I'm pretty sure it grew as you guys joined Los Verdes and Amurga because people heard about you owning Paprika and want to support a friend's business. But before that, like, you know, did you already have like a pretty set, you know, like, aquí está la raza que viene y compra?
Yeah. So I mean, we've had to fight for every single person that comes. But I think, again, going from early on in the pandemic, I remember like most days we were lucky to have 5 folks come through, and I was jumping up and down, and I would call Hayden, because she wasn't even on the truck at that point, but I would call her and I would tell her, I was like, we got 7 people today.
That's good.
I think we can do 10. You know, if we can just get 10, we'll make it. We'll be able to do it and keep the truck going. But over time and as we've changed our menu and how we do things and even our location, we started to see folks in the neighborhood coming through just coincidentally, or because they saw us on Google, and start to have these really good experiences, and then relay that to their friends and family, a Google review, you know, and it start to spread, and then them being hooked, you know, and like, unless you live far away or andas amargado, it's like most people that eat with us come back.
That's good.
Unless it's not convenient for you. You know, there's many reasons why it may not be possible. But it's like, for the most part, it's like folks, when they eat with us, they come back and they want more. And sometimes we'll see somebody come for the first time and they come back 3 times that same week. You know, and we're like, hey, no judgment. Like, you do your thing.
It's actually better for me.
Yeah, it's like, you do your thing. We're happy to serve you. But they get bashful about it, because I try to, both of us really, we try to remember and connect with the people that come through. So like the names I can't keep up with, but the faces and the personalities and the interests and things like that, you know, that folks share when they're at the window. It's like, I try to keep a running catalog of those and say, hey, you're so and so, and you do this, right? How did your team do this weekend? Or how's the baby? Or, you know, and like just try to stay in constant contact with folks. And we've seen the community grow with the progression of the pandemic, and then we had the big freeze here in Texas, and we saw it kind of really solidify then, when we were like, we don't know what's going to happen. We can't open up. We ended up deciding, same thing, we cooked a big olla, frijoles charros, and we made some carnitas tacos, and we said, hey, it's free for anyone that can make it here safely. Like, we'll get you fed. And we just saw this outpouring of folks come through, and it wasn't even in a sustenance. It wasn't even like feed us. It was like, they were like, hey, we want to pay you for this. We want to help you out, you know, and like, you're doing your thing. We want to help and contribute. And we really started to get this sense of like, oh shit, we have folks that believe in us and have our backs, you know, and like, it just started to grow from there. And so we definitely have been building this community, and or helping build this community, and join Los Verdes really without any vested interest in regards to Paprika. You know, I joined it because I mean, like I said, I ran away from home to go play soccer. So I've just been obsessed with football my entire life. And really, when I started hearing about Austin FC, I was like, whoa, I never thought that I would be able to be this close to something like that, and just being fascinated by it. And we went to the inaugural home match, and I think we were in this, I can't remember the section, but we were just to the right of the supporter section. And I remember hearing La Murga and seeing folks going wild and singing the songs and trying to sing back the little bit that I knew, and just being hooked and saying I want a part of that. But trying to be mindful and careful of, like, it's not a business venture for us, you know. And that's why, like I said, you kind of have to pry it out of us, really, to this day within Los Verdes. There's a lot of folks that don't realize that that's what we do, because I'm not trying to get any, like, advantage or further advancement out of that. You know, it's like we just love watching, playing, eating, breathing, football. So it's like I said, I mean, it's literally to the point where we'll put our business at risk sometimes, because we're like, we got to go to the stadium. So we're like, we got to close down early today.
On us.
Yeah, on us.
You're start making the specials like, hey, 2 for 1. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So, but no, being a part of Los Verdes community, and I think there's a lot of parallels between Los Verdes and Paprika, and what we stand for, and what we're willing to stand for, you know, and speak out on. It's been super nice and super cool to, like, find those parallels and mesh, and really be like, hey, we're here for you, and you're here for us, you know? And since I'd say in the last couple of months, we've really seen, like, a number of folks come through just to show some love.
That's good.
And same thing, you know, once they're there, they're like, oh, I was just here to show some love, but now I'm hooked. Now, even if I didn't want to be here,
you're here.
I got to come for the sodero, or I got to come for the trompo.
Yeah.
You know? So we're super, super grateful for it, and always super excited to see where it goes and what's next. So.
Yeah, like whenever we started the podcast, we started literally, like, the first episode was a couple of days before the first game.
Yep.
And I wanted to, like, say, whenever, because, like, say, I wanted to get to the masses, but not in a way where, like, oh, if I join this group, I'm going to be, you know, taking advantage of the numbers they have, you know, for my purpose. It was more like, if I join this group, I want to find the stories from people in here that I'm pretty sure we can get, because my goal was to not just have 2 people talk the same, you know, time, which is, I mean, I'm pretty sure it would be good regardless, but I want to hear stories from people, and I want to hear, you know, like, say, if they own, like, business, if they, you know, they did some type of art, if they, you know, for example, Roma, I think Roma was our first guest.
Roma's a gem.
She's her and Serafina.
Yeah, the world doesn't deserve them, really. Like, that's
man, she's awesome. And one thing that I when I was talking to David, you know, my co-collaborator in the past, I told him, like, dude, we should have, you know, since we like soccer, like, Roma in that time, she came out in an article about going to every away game, and I'm like, I want to see if she can come over, and then we can talk. But I also wanted to, like, say, for example, barbers, because, you know, I used to go to get my haircut almost every other week or so. So that time it was like, I reached out to Roma, and I was like, hey, you know, like, I want to hear about your story, and, you know, and everything. But I didn't know her, like, personally. Yeah. And she agreed to come, and I told her, you know, so you won't be awkward. You won't be like with 2 guys. You can bring a friend. So Serafina came with her, and that was pretty cool, because after that, I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like, you know, the type of people that, you know, like, you see in this group. And in that time, I really didn't know what Los Verdes and La Murga was. So, and I started getting more closer to it. Then I met Rigo and I met Faris. Yeah. And Rigo had, like, el penacho de atrás, la colita verde. So then that's how I remember him. And then he came over and he talked more about the Tifo and talked more about Los Verdes and La Murga. So then I started meeting more people from the supporters. And I was like, you know what? I want to highlight as many stories from in this, you know, group of people as I can. But my goal, like same with you, is like never to take advantage of the numbers that they had for my benefit. It's more like, no, I want to share their stories so they can hear it, you know, something that maybe they don't know about you, they don't know about Roma, they don't know about Rigo or Faris. So that ended up being pretty cool. Over time, I got more involved in hobbies. Like, say, one thing that, like, what I would say a turning point, a pivot for the podcast was when Coca came, and then also when I met Javi Pereira. We were actually, that moment when we met, we were going to Houston, and Faris, I went to one bus, and then Faris like, hey, wait, vente para otro bus. You know, I came as desmadre, and I was like, all right, cool. Well, I got in trouble because I switched buses without telling anybody they were looking for me. So then, but in that time,
that
like,
gray area,
that gray area,
you gotta break the rules a little bit.
Yeah, and yeah, I know for sure. Like, I think if it wasn't because of that, you know, Fadi's decision, or like of me following him, it would have not, you know, things could have probably worked out, but not like how they worked out. So then, I got to, you know, I met Javi there, and then also met ¿cómo se llama? No, Garza, God, and I'm literally. El que está como argentino. Juanchi.
Juan Lara.
Yeah,
Juanchi. Extrañamos.
I was gonna call him Juan Lara. And I'm like, I forgot his nickname. But I've always seen. I don't know him by Juanchi instead of Juan Lara. And I met him, and then and there, like, I got to hang out with Javi, and then Javi was like, "Hey, you're the one that has a podcast, right?" Like, yeah. So then we started hanging out, and we got to, you know, become pretty good friends. And then I met Duke, and I met, you know, in that time they were doing the Pasión Verde documentary, so I helped them. So I was like, I want to jump in and help out, see what I can. But no, it's one of those things that, like, I that's what I think I like about the supporters group. I mean, it's not perfect.
No.
Like every group, you know, there's disagreements, and then there's certain struggles, but just the fact that, you know, the people that are around there, like, especially when we go play pickup, it's like, it's fun. Like, I enjoy every time I go. I enjoy being there. I enjoy playing with everyone. And it's good because whenever I have to go shoot at the stadium, it's easier for me to take a picture of someone and their reaction, because they already know, like, okay, Rich is taking a picture of me, and not, I want to be awkward. I actually want to be, you know, chanting and stuff. So,
yeah. No, it's, yeah, just like you said, it's like, it's real people, and it's imperfect, like when you're dealing with any body of folks. But once you start really getting to talk to people and getting to know folks, it's like, oh, they're out there. There's a lot of really cool stories and stuff that you don't expect. And it's super cool to be able to, like, rub shoulders and break bread with them, you know. It's like you mentioned Carnitas del Güero earlier, and us going to eat there together, you know. And it's just like, there's all these cool experiences that where really it's like what we all had in common is the football, is the soccer.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, it's almost the least important. Is even last season when the team wasn't doing as well, it's like we're still building these relationships and building these bonds and really comunidad through football, you know. And so, like, to me, it's something that I don't think I had ever really experienced before, and it's super cool to be a part of it and be able to see it in real time, how this community grows and how we grow closer as a group, and what we do when challenges or problems kind of come up, and getting to know the people that make it up, and what makes them tick and what makes them, you know.
Especially Rico, man. I like making him take me to play soccer with him. I like picking on him just for the. Yeah, I mean, he has such a personality when he plays. So I'm just like, dude, I just want to, like, hey, Rico.
Well, he's got a big personality, but Rico's a cool guy.
Yeah,
you know, he's one of those people that I think really embodies what it means to build community. He brings people together and makes it like, hey, you and you can all come in here and we can all, like, have a good laugh and be cool together, you know. It's like, I might throw a little joke at you sometime because I'm super crispy,
Yeah.
but you're still cool. You know, we're still here for the same thing.
Yeah, it's like with Rico, I'm always like, sí, jefe, ¿qué pasó? ¿Algo más? He's like, no, güey, no soy jefe, güey. Seguro porque no es como bien mamona.
It goes like that. There's different flavors out there, and all kinds of folks doing different wavelengths and different speeds, doing different things. But I think everybody really pours their heart into it, and contributes their little granito de arena.
I think, like say for example, like you're saying, everybody pours the granito de arena. It's in different like facets of how you can pour it in. Like they're doing banners. Someone that's very good at stitching and they already knows how to do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'll probably they'll be throwing away fabric because of my mess ups. But that's an important thing because at the end of the day, like the community, that's what it's about. Everyone that it's there, they all have their own personalities, but they all bring something to the table, and you can actually see it whenever the team is playing, because no matter what happens, everybody's pretty much on the same heartbeat.
Yeah,
and that's something that that's amazing about being part of Los Verdes and La Murga.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think when I first started diving in there head first, Hayden was like always been super supportive and understanding of it, but I think initially she was just like, you're just kooky and this is just your soccer buddies like being crazy about soccer. Yeah. But then as she started to go to more things and get to know folks in the community like Roma and really making those connections and seeing like, oh no, like, these are all just very real people doing things that they're passionate about or that they believe in, but they also have all these other things that they bring to the table, and it's like, I don't know, it's super cool. It's like opening up a new deck of cards or something every time where you're like, oh, I didn't realize you did this. Yeah. I didn't realize you were able to do this. Somebody knowing how to sew and somebody being really good at cooking or at pickup soccer. There's all these things that folks kind of bring to it. And it's cool to see it kind of coalesce and come together and see how it can help build each other up and then relay it to the team as well. So
yeah, because they can. I mean, they see it, they feel it. Yeah. I mean, look at all those comebacks.
Oh yeah.
Part of it is just literally Stuber saying we had to come back because of the fans.
Oh yeah.
Because all the the work they put last season, and you can see it every time they play. Yeah, man. One question that I had is so going to the truck is right now it's under under some construction.
Yeah.
When do you think you guys will open back up?
Unfortunately, right now we don't have an exact date. We've got some pretty extensive repairs. Today, actually, we got some headway on it. We started getting the fire suppression system installed, but really we're at the mercy of the bureaucracy that is the health department, and then getting contractors in to do their part on their respective jobs. But it's brutal. I mean, it's something that we were like, when it first happened, it was like, oh, we're hoping within a week we can be up and running, and now it's been, I think, almost 3 weeks, and potentially a couple more. So we're starting to think about what we can do until we have a hard date. What we can do. We did a couple of pop-ups this past weekend, and we've been trying to be a little more frugal with our money, but really we don't. I mean, that's the best answer, is that we don't have a hard date yet. Yeah. So kind of at the mercy of systems in place that you have to play by those rules. There's not a whole lot of gray area in those.
Yeah, and those one of those like you got to get it done.
You got to do it, and there's no other way around it. So we're getting those tackled, and I mean, hopefully it's not any longer than another 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, no finish line in mind. But with that Mexican hustle and ingenuity, it's already been rolling on. If I can't sell out of the truck, what can I do? You know, I can. We have a commissary kitchen that we rent out, and that is fully certified and still up to date. And so it's like, oh, we can prepare food. We just can't sell it out of the truck. So it's like, oh, we can sell it under a tent and with an outdoor grill, and that's what we did this weekend. And it's like, okay, so I'm toying with that idea of like reaching out to folks and seeing like, can we set up here for the weekend? Can you know? So we'll see how it goes and what happens. But yeah, definitely not throwing in the towel and hoping to be back up and running as soon as possible.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
The slogan, "No se duerman," you know, it's a tough one right now for you.
Yeah.
But how are you, you know, like, how's your psyche going? How are you processing all of this mentally and emotionally from being closed down? Because I know you're a person that likes to be grinding.
Yeah. No.
So not grinding because you can't. Not because you don't want to, but it's because you can't. How are you processing that? No se duerman.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, that's the mindset, and that's the lifestyle of like, no se duerman, pónganse trucha, you know, no se agüiten, of like, that's just what I've always, that's what I've grown up with, and that's what I've tried to emulate and kind of push on to other folks, is that like, shit's gonna get hard, you know, and things are gonna happen that are beyond your control, and sometimes they're within your control. You know, a part of this mess is admittedly my own fault. You know, I'm just not paying more attention to it and being on top of it and being more timely. But you gotta keep fighting, and you know, you gotta stay on your toes and keep your head on a swivel, and kind of, when life gives you a sucker punch, be ready to dodge it and give one back, you know. So it's like that's the mentality behind it of no se duerman, you know. It's like we say it to folks a lot when they say, oh, well, I tried to eat at your truck and you sold out. It's like, yeah, you know, you need to think about how that made you feel, and the next time maybe like go a little bit earlier, you know, or structure your day a little differently. And it's just something that I think about in day-to-day life, where it's just like a better phrase, or a phrase that I like even more is what my namesake, my abuelito, who I'm named after, Margarito, always says to me is un ojo al gato y otro al garabato. It's just like, you got to keep one eye on the target, but then you also got to be paying attention to this mess over here, you know, and just stay on your toes and keep trying, you know. I mentioned earlier, it's like we recently got into rock climbing, bouldering, and we're in love and addicted, and you see it when you're out there, where it's just like, it's just a set of puzzles, challenges, you know, and that's kind of how I look at life, where it's just like, it's really fucking hard sometimes, but there's a way to get out of it and get to where you want to be. You just gotta really want it, and sometimes get creative with how you go about doing it, and operate in that gray area and take those risks. You know, put yourself on the line, get uncomfortable, get outside of your comfort zone, while building other people up, and trying to do some good.
And that's good, man. It's one of those things that, like, for me, I speak to personally, because as I used to, you know, I have my full-time job, and I always like having side hustles, because I like just feeling comfortable. But then I stopped doing those side hustles, like, say, for example, part-time job, because I'm starting this photography thing.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can go weeks that you're busy, and there's times that no te sale. So because the thing is, whenever you're, you have a side job or you have a set place, so you go in and work, it's you don't have to invest on equipment or you have to invest on this and that. But like here, when you're photography, is like things get expensive because of memory cards or, you have to, say, look at, like, say, what can you buy or whatnot. So I for me, it's like you're speaking to me, because sometimes I'm like, man, dude, like this weekend no me ha salido nada. Even though like my full-time job takes care of, my living things, but the extra stuff that I want to do, it's like, ni modo. It's like, hey, you got to figure out either, find a side hustle or find something. So I like doing that, and also helps me stay sane, because, if I stay home not doing anything, me lleva la fregada. Yeah. But the one thing that I've been lately doing is like enjoying more life. And I know it's kind of like a thing where, like, man, like, say maybe financially I'm not where I was, a couple years ago, but I was able to go to like the boat party with Los Verdes. Yeah. I was able to, to do all this stuff. And I couldn't probably do it in the past because I was, having to work every weekend at night. Yeah. My goal was like, if I'm gonna be on a weekend, I'd rather be out making money than, spending money. And like, say, for example, with the photography and la murga, you don't get paid for it, and that's a whole day thing. Yeah. Gastas dinero porque sales una cheve, que comprar algo de comer y todo eso. Al final de cuentas, I mean, whatever money you have saved, ahí se te va. Yeah, no, it's taxing. So it's one of those things that, at the end of the day, for me, the experience of just seeing that and being around that is like, you know what? It's actually not as bad as I thought. But now, man, I commend you for staying above, like staying, level-headed, staying in your toes, especially in these times, and you haven't given up. And I'm pretty sure when, you're able to open up the truck again, the little we can do here to push it, we this is not a thing where like, oh, please come to Paprika because it needs to be open. Nah, come to Paprika because the shit is good. Yeah,
if you like good food and you want to talk to the person making it, that's why you come to Paprika, not because of any promotion or anyone telling you to. It's like you do it for yourself, and then hopefully you have a good time. So
yeah, man, Mago, man, I appreciate you. It's weird how things are. You're having you're spending a time in the podcast, and I'm pretty sure, like, say that this would not happen if you had the truck open.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a hard time. It's a hard period to be going through, but it's at the same time it makes me happy because I wouldn't have been able to do on a Tuesday night. Yeah. Any other week I would have said no, I can't do it. I wouldn't have been able to imagine it. So it's not all.
It's not all bad.
It's not all bad. It could be worse, and we're rolling with it. So,
and that's good, man. And appreciate you lending us your time. Is there anything, like, say, for example, you want someone to know, or how they can reach out to you in case they have an event or they want to hire you for their event, if you do that?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're kind of open. There's social media is very quick. My email address, Margarito at paprikaatx.com. But really, I mean, just saying hi, saying what's up, and talking about the team or what's going on with your life. Like that's really the stuff that keeps me going. So, like I said, I'm not too. Maybe it's naive, but I'm not too worried about Paprika right now because I know that we've got the determination to keep it going. So we're gonna find a way. It may not be like the ideal path, but we're gonna find a way to keep it going. So,
and that's good, man. Appreciate thank you for sharing that. And everyone that's listening to this, thank you for listening to another episode of Otra, por favor.
Otra, por favor.
Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you listen to your podcast, and also otraporfavor.com. World Cup is around the corner, so we're gonna be sending out some stuff regarding when people join and talk about just the group stages. we'll share more about it, and then, wishing Coque, a good week.
Yep.
And ahí se cuidan, y yo digo que México pasa del grupo como primero, y le damos a Argentina un 2-0.
Yeah, somebody's got to knock Argentina off, so.
I think we got it.
Yeah.
Even though we feel like we can't, they'll be all right.
Vamos, México.
Ahí se cuidan, se portan bien, y arriba el América.
Y no se duerman.
Adiós.